everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to go over some of the books that I picked up from the library sale that I went to over the weekend. Now, at this library they didn't have a lot of books that I would typically gravitate towards, you know, fantasy romance, fantasy, paranormal romance, things like that. However, I did decide to pick up a few books, some, you know, out of my comfort zone, you know, where I want to kind of read a little bit that is, you know, something that I typically don't read. And then, of course, there are some books in here that I love to read that most people don't even know. So you're going to find those out today as well. So if you like this video, make sure you like it. Subscribe to my channel. Make sure that you don't miss any of my content. And then also leave me comments below. Let me know if you've read any of these books. If you have, if you liked them, you didn't like them. Also leave me some suggestions down below. Definitely let me know what books I should be looking out for, whether they're older books, new releases. I'm always up for some suggestions. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So today I'm going to go over what's in my lap real quick, and then we'll go over some of the mass market paperbacks that I picked up. So the first book, of course, you know, is The White Queen by Philippa Gregory. So I love Anne Boleyn. I love the Tudors. I love that time period. So, of course, Philippa Gregory is one of my go-tos. And then the next one is another Philippa Gregory, you know, The Women of the Cousins' War, you know, so definitely had to indulge in those. The last one that I got is by Alison Weir, and it is The Lady in the Tower. So I love the Tudor time period because there's just so much, you know, that happened. It definitely shaped, you know, what political, you know, parties we have now, how, you know, government is ran. Henry VIII really, you know, broke that shell, and, you know, what we have today in America as democracy was, you know, somewhat started whenever it was Henry VIII's time. Granted, not all of it, but he definitely, you know, shaped what we have as government today. So I always find it interesting, you know, whenever I read about that. So here are some of the books. The first one is a series. I've never heard of it. But it's A Gate of Night, A Shadow, Vampire, A Shade of Blood, A Castle of Sand, A Shadow of Light, A Blaze of Sun by Bella Forrest. So there are 6 books in this series. I've never heard of them, but honestly, at the sale, it was 50-cent paperbacks and $1 hardback, so I was like, why not? They look to be in really good condition. Let's give it a shot. Maybe I'll like it or not. The next one I picked up solely because of the cover. I don't know anything about this, but it is called Remember Me. It's a pretty thick book, so I don't know if it is. It says that it includes Remember Me, The Return, and The Last Story. So I'm guessing there's 3 books in one on here. It says that she won't let them forget. I guess she wakes up dead, and the last thing she can remember is falling from a balcony during her friend's party. So I'm going to assume, just kind of by the vibes and everything, and whenever it says that there's also, you know, other books, you know, by Christopher Pike, that it's a vampire book. So I'm pretty interested in that. I don't know if it is YA or adult, but I'm going to assume the way the cover is designed and everything that it's probably going to be YA. But I'm pretty excited to read this. You know, I picked it up solely just because of the cover. I thought it was really pretty. So on some of the mass markets that I got, we got Dark Fire by Christine Feehan. So I have read some books by her. Absolutely love them. I do believe most of them are all standalones. You don't have to read any of them in particular order. But I got Dark Fire because it sounded amazing. It sounds like, you know, Tempest realized she knew the answer. She had no choice but to accept the velvet stroke of his tongue. So this sounds very erotic. Pretty excited for that. This one, Judith McNaught, I've never read anything by her, but isn't that cover gorgeous? A Kingdom of Dreams. I have heard a lot of booktubers talking about this book. So I was like, you know what? For 50 cents, I'm picking it up. Let's see what it's about. I don't know much about it, but there's like a touch of magic. I'm going to assume it's kind of like a paranormal romance, maybe a fantasy romance, or maybe just a little that dabbles into it. But I'm pretty excited to start reading this one. And then the next two are Anne Rice. So I picked up Angel Time and then also The Witching Hour. So with Anne Rice, I've been trying to read a little bit more horror, maybe even a little bit more, like adult vampire. I know Anne Rice has wrote, the Interview with the Vampire series. I watched Queen of the Damned. Absolutely loved it, but reading it and watching it are going to be two different things. So I'm pretty excited to dabble into Anne Rice a little bit. So Angel Time, I'm not really sure what it's about. I think it's an angel series, which is quite different than the vampire thing. So I didn't even know she wrote something like that. And then, of course, The Witching Hour by Anne Rice. So I'm pretty excited. I can't really wait to get into these. It's the book one in the Mayfair Chronicles. Never heard of it. So let me know if you've read any of the Anne Rice ones as well. And then me and my friend decided, since we didn't really see I didn't see a whole lot that I really enjoyed. She actually got a lot more books than I did. She likes to read more contemporary romance or a lot of fiction. Kind of some that I don't really tend to gravitate towards. So she definitely made out with a bargain. So on mine, we decided that we were going to go to, once we got back into town, we were going to go to a local bookstore that I had some credit at. And I told her, I said, hey, why don't we just go? You use up most of my credit, because a lot of times I don't find anything in this bookstore that, I typically want to read or that I haven't read yet. And so I told her, I said, let's go. It has a lot of books that you're going to love. Use up my credit. So we went there, and I actually surprisingly found a few books that I did end up picking up. So the first one is a trilogy that I've never heard of, and it is by C.L. Polk. So you have Storm Song, you have Witchmark, and then you also have Soul Star. I don't know which books are first in the series, but, look at these covers. They're absolutely stunning. I picked them up in the fantasy section, so I don't know if they're fantasy romance or if they're paranormal romance or what they are. But for $4 each, I thought, why not? Then the next book that I picked up, so I have had everyone telling me that I need to read this series. So I picked up, I think it's like a novella, like a prequel to the actual series. So I thought, why not start there? And it is the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. So I picked up this one. It is the Wheel of Time in the beginning, so I'm going to assume it's before the actual series. It's not very, big, but at least it'll introduce me to the world, a little bit about Robert Jordan's, writing. I've been wanting to read. I hear all of these booktubers talk about Robert Jordan, Patrick Rothfuss, and even Brandon Sanderson. Surprisingly, I haven't read any of those, and I love fantasy, so I'm going to dabble in some Robert Jordan, see what I think, and then, of course, if I end up liking it, I can go back to the store and get, the rest of the books in the Wheel of Time series, but I'm pretty excited for that. And then the last one that I picked up, it was in a 25-cent bargain section. So a lot of books that either are much older or not well sought after, or maybe not in a really good condition. So I picked this one up because it's called Romeo. And I was like, what is this about, right? So, of course, it's not in perfect condition, and I'm fine with that. It was 25 cents. However, this is like an erotic thriller. I didn't even know this genre existed, right? So erotic thrillers, I even asked my friend, I was like, is this what I think it is? And she said, yeah, absolutely. So I didn't even realize that like a thriller could be erotic, I guess. I'm intrigued. I was intrigued by, the cover, the name of it. I was also intrigued by the back of here because it talks about His is the courtship every woman dreams of. They just didn't expect to die. His victims were San Francisco's most invulnerable women, professional, beautiful, and smart. They eagerly embraced Romeo's darkest fantasies. But why? Psychiatrist Melanie Rosen was his fifth victim, an expert on serial killers. She set out to solve the mystery of Romeo's identity, only to fall victim to his deadly charm and her own uncontrollable desires. Now Romeo has Melanie's diary and the identity of his ideal quest, her sister Sarah. So I'm pretty excited about this. I can't wait to read it. I don't typically read thrillers. I've read a few in the past, but I don't know. It's hard for me to read thrillers very often because I just feel like they're kind of the same. Now, granted, fantasy romances tend to be the same as well. Paranormal romances are the same. You know, they all have the same plot. They all have the same, kind of middle part where it's like, you're trying to either weave through this political intrigue, or you're trying to be on a quest, or you have to survive certain trials. So of course they're all the same. But on thrillers, I feel like I tend to figure it out very quickly, and then I just kind of lose interest. So this one isn't very thick. I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty sure I can knock it out in a day or two. It's 25 cents. If I don't like it, I'm really not out much money. So I'm pretty excited. Has anyone read this one? Have you ever heard about it? By Elise Title. So anyway, those are the books that I picked up over the weekend. A lot of them are not ones that I gravitate towards. A lot of them are way out of my realm of reading preferences. But that's kind of what I've been into lately. I've been wanting to read some books that, aren't what I typically read. They're not my typical genre. So if any of you have read any of these books, if you know of any of them, if they're good, they're bad, if you have any some suggestions on any ones, that I haven't read, please leave them below. In my description is my personal Instagram, Let's Talk Books over there, my author services Instagram if you want to see if we have any ARCs available or anything like that, and also, my Goodreads link as well if you want to follow me on Goodreads and see some of my reviews. But until next time, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Bye!